What if I told you the deadliest sniper in history didn't fight for a great empire, didn't wield a scoped rifle, and wasn't even a professional soldier, but a humble Finnish farmer? During the brutal Winter War of 1939 to 1940, one man would terrify the Red Army like no other. His name was Simo Häyhä, but the Soviets knew him by a different title, the White Death. Armed with little more than iron sights, snow camouflage, and unshakable patience, Häyhä would rack up over 500 confirmed kills in just 100 days, earning his place in military history and in the nightmares of his enemies. In this video, we'll dive deep into the life, training, and battlefield brilliance of Simo Häyhä, exploring how an ordinary Finnish marksman became the greatest sniper of all time. If you love immersive history that cuts past the myth and digs into the human story, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because today we're stepping into the frozen forests of Karelia, where one man changed the course of modern sniping forever. The humble origins. Simo Häyhä was born on December 17, 1905, in the small Finnish farming community of Rautjärvi, near the Russian border. His family lived simply, working the land, tending livestock, and hunting to survive. Like many Finns of his generation, Häyhä grew up in the wilderness. His rifle wasn't just for sport, it was a lifeline. By his teenage years, Häyhä had earned a reputation in his village as an unerring shot. Whether it was grouse perched on a distant branch or a fox darting across the snow, Simo rarely missed. But his skills were not just natural talent. They were honed through patience, observation, and relentless practice. Hunting in Finland's harsh winters taught him lessons that would later save his life: how to blend into snow, how to wait motionless for hours, and how to shoot without warning. These were not just hobbies. They were survival tools, sharpened long before the war began. When Häyhä completed his mandatory military service in the 1920s, he joined the Civil Guard, Finland's volunteer militia. Here, he developed his marksmanship further, competing in shooting contests and refining his skill with the Finnish-made Mosin Nagant rifle, the very weapon he would later wield in war. But at this point, Häyhä was no soldier of fortune. He returned to his farm, content to live quietly, raising crops and tending animals. Fate, however, had other plans. The Soviet threat and the Winter War. In 1939, Europe was on fire. Hitler's Germany had invaded Poland, dragging the world into war. But in the north, it was Stalin's Soviet Union that set its sights on Finland. The Soviets demanded land concessions to secure Leningrad, fearing it was too close to the Finnish border. When Finland refused, Stalin unleashed his massive Red Army. On November 30th, 1939, the Soviets invaded with nearly 1 million troops, thousands of tanks, and overwhelming artillery. Finland, with barely 300,000 soldiers and limited resources, seemed doomed. But Finland had one advantage the Soviets underestimated: the will to fight and the unforgiving terrain. The forests, swamps, and endless snowdrifts of Karelia were home turf for Finnish soldiers, men who skied to war, camouflaged in white and struck like ghosts before vanishing into the trees. This is where Simo Häyhä stepped onto the stage. Called back into service, he was placed in the 6th Company of JR-34, defending the Karelian Isthmus. Armed with his trusty M/28-30 Mosin Nagant rifle with iron sights, Häyhä prepared to meet the Soviet tide. While the Soviets wore dark uniforms that stood out starkly against the snow, Häyhä dressed in full white camouflage, even covering his rifle to prevent glare. He made his nest in snowbanks, carefully packing snow in front of his position to muffle the blast of his shots. He even kept snow in his mouth while aiming, so his warm breath wouldn't betray his position. For the Soviets, the Winter War quickly turned into a nightmare. Entire divisions froze in the forests, cut off by Finnish ski patrols. And somewhere in those woods lurked a quiet farmer whose rifle spoke death with every shot. The White Death. The Soviets soon gave Häyhä his infamous nickname, Belaya Smrt, or the White Death. In a war that lasted just 105 days, Häyhä's kill count soared to over 500 confirmed kills with a rifle, plus dozens more with a submachine gun, a staggering record unmatched by any sniper in history. What made his feats even more remarkable was his choice of weapon. Unlike many snipers, Häyhä refused to use a scope. Why? 2 reasons. Scopes reflected light and could reveal a sniper's position. With iron sights, Häyhä could press his cheek closer to the rifle, making a smaller target for enemy fire. The Soviets were desperate to stop him. They sent their own snipers to hunt him. Häyhä killed them all. They shelled suspected positions with artillery. He survived. They even bombed entire forests, trying to crush him under falling trees. He endured. Simo Häyhä wasn't just shooting soldiers, he was breaking the morale of entire units. Soviet infantry would freeze at the sight of a comrade dropping suddenly, knowing that somewhere out there, unseen, the White Death was watching. His tactics were simple but devastating. Häyhä would rise before dawn, ski to a hidden position, and lie in wait for hours. He didn't fire wildly. Every shot was deliberate, precise, final. He was not a soldier chasing glory. He was a farmer doing what had to be done to defend his homeland. And his kill streak didn't go unnoticed. Fellow Finns began whispering about him as a living legend. Soviet soldiers, meanwhile, spoke his name in fear. But even legends can bleed. The shot that nearly killed him. On March 6, 1940, Häyhä's luck almost ran out. A Soviet soldier spotted him and fired an explosive bullet that struck his jaw. The blast nearly tore off half his face. Comrades pulled him from the snow, his body mangled, his future uncertain. He was rushed to a field hospital, unconscious for days. When he awoke, the Winter War was already over. On March 13, 1940, Finland and the Soviet Union signed a peace treaty. Finland lost 11% of its territory, but the Soviet cost had been staggering, over 300,000 casualties. Simo Häyhä, scarred and disfigured, had given more than most. His face required years of surgery, but he survived. He had no regrets. When asked later how he achieved his incredible kill count, Häyhä's answer was humble. Practice and patience. Life after the war. Unlike many war heroes, Häyhä did not seek the spotlight. After recovering, he returned quietly to farming, living out his days in rural Finland. But he never fully escaped his fame. Fellow soldiers and historians sought him out, eager to hear his story. He spoke little, preferring silence to boasting. Yet those who met him described a man of humility, kindness, and quiet pride. During the Continuation War, 1941 to 1944, Häyhä attempted to serve again, but his injuries limited him. Instead, he trained younger marksmen, passing on the deadly craft he had perfected. In his later years, Häyhä enjoyed hunting, tending his farm, and spending time with his dogs. He lived a long life, passing away in 2002 at the age of 96, a survivor of both brutal war and the passage of nearly a century. His legacy endures in military academies worldwide, where his story is studied as a lesson in discipline, patience, and mastery of terrain. The legacy of the White Death. Simo Häyhä's story isn't just about one man. It's about how environment, culture, and determination can shape a soldier into a legend. The Winter War itself became a case study in asymmetric warfare. A small nation, vastly outnumbered, used terrain, mobility, and morale to hold off a giant. And within that larger story, Häyhä's personal feats became a symbol of Finnish resilience. Snipers today, from the US Marines to Russian Spetsnaz, still study Häyhä's methods. His emphasis on camouflage, patience, and marksmanship over technology remains relevant, even in an age of drones and thermal scopes. But perhaps the most enduring part of Häyhä's legacy is the paradox of his character. By all accounts, he was a gentle, modest man, happiest when farming or hunting. Yet in war, he became the embodiment of death itself. It raises a haunting question. What transforms an ordinary farmer into history's most lethal sniper? The answer lies not in hatred, but in necessity. Häyhä fought not for conquest or glory, but for his homeland's survival. His story reminds us that behind the numbers, behind the myth of the White Death, there was a man, quiet, patient, and unyielding in defense of his people. Simo Häyhä remains one of history's most fascinating figures, a man who blurred the line between myth and reality, and who proved that courage, patience, and skill could defy impossible odds. His rifle may have fallen silent long ago, but his legend endures, echoing through the frozen forests of Karelia, whispered in the halls of military academies, and remembered in every tale of the Winter War. So the next time you hear the name, the White Death, remember the humble Finnish farmer who became the deadliest sniper in history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of Simo Häyhä, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more immersive history content. We've got many more untold stories of warriors, battles, and moments that shaped the world, and you won't want to miss them. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep exploring the past to better understand the present.